If you're looking for a high-performance lift kit for your F-150 that won't completely blow out the budget, Rough Country has got your answer right here. In this kit, you get a set of remote reservoir shocks plus other components to make for a very complete, high-performance oriented lift kit. This is an all-inclusive bolt-on solution that will give you additional height, better on and off-road performance, and it will give your truck a significant upgrade to both its looks and performance, making it a great choice for the F-150 owner who wants a little bit of everything. A quick note on fitment here before we go any further. This kit is designed to fit 2021 and newer four-wheel drive F-150 Super Cabs and Super Cruise that are not equipped with the CCD suspension system. It will also not fit on Power Boost or Raptor models. Since this is a 3-inch lift kit, you're going to get extra clearance to run larger wheels and tires. As you can see on our truck, 33s will fit with no issues. 35s may also fit, but just know that you're going to get some rubbing at full lock, which would require some trimming. So for the purposes of this video, I would recommend sticking with 33s. You can even get some really beefy ones on there. That way you don't have to do any trimming and you still get that nice beefy look. But if you really want to get the 35s, just prepare for a bit of trimming or other modifications. Now, starting out up front with this kit, you get a set of new upper control arms. These are heavy-duty arms and they include new Cleveite rubber bushings and brand new ball joints as well. So it's going to refresh the front end quite a bit and will make a big difference when it comes to absorption of impacts out on the road. These in particular are made of forged aluminum, so they're pretty lightweight, but they have a ton of structural integrity, enough to hold up to pretty much whatever abuse you can throw at them while you're out on the street or trail. You might have noticed the other big feature of these is that the ball joints are also angled to accommodate for the added lift. So despite having quite a bit more height in the front end than your stock suspension setup, these will keep things pretty close to that factory suspension geometry. That's going to help maintain that close to factory ride quality and provide for a full range of motion so you can take advantage of the added ride height. Now in the rear, to get the additional height, we have a set of composite lift blocks with new U-bolts to keep everything secured and accommodate that additional height. The blocks themselves measure just about 2.5 inches, so this will give you that exact amount of lift overall in the rear, meaning that your truck is going to sit pretty even front to back. It's going to eliminate the rake that these trucks come with from the factory. However, the big story with this kit are the shocks. Now this kit features Rough Country's top-of-the-line Vertex series shocks. These are a heavy-duty, high-end remote reservoir setup, and they provide stellar off-road performance and excellent on-road manners. For the front, they come as pre-assembled coilovers, so they will bolt right in place of your factory struts. Both the front and rear shocks are a monotube design and they are nitrogen charged with 8 preset damping settings. So you can make adjustments and dial in the damping depending on what you're going to be doing with your truck. Crank it up if you want some more performance for the street, or crank it down if you want something that's going to be soft so you can run through some trails. However, of course, the coolest feature are these remote reservoirs. On the front, as you can see, they're connected via these braided stainless steel lines, and the rears have them hard mounted on the side. And the reservoir is again where you're going to find those damping adjustments here. Remote reservoirs are pretty trick pieces, and they bring a lot of that off-road racing tech to your truck. But the same benefits apply here. These offer a ton of control, really fast response, and the reservoir means that they have additional fluid capacity and thus additional damping power and additional heat dissipation. So that means you're not going to have any issues with fade if you're out on the trail and working your truck hard. So you can use these and the truck itself to their full capacity without having to worry about the shocks fading or losing control. And since you have that adjustability, again, you can fine-tune these to respond well to the conditions. Construction here is all very solid. As I mentioned, the control arms up front are made of forged aluminum for strength and weight savings. No seams or welds to break on these, so you can be sure that they're strong. Pop the caps on the ball joints and you're also going to find Zerk fittings right there, so you can grease those ball joints and help extend their lifespan. The shocks, both front and rear, feature a 22mm chromed hardened piston rod and huge 2.5-inch piston and 3-stage seal systems inside for durability, plus those stainless steel braided lines on the front. You also get all new hardware and the aforementioned composite lift blocks here, which are lightweight and strong with no welds to break. As far as pricing goes, complete kits like this don't exactly come cheap. This one is going to run you about $2,900. However, again, this is a totally inclusive lift kit that has nearly everything. Not only is it a lift, but it's a good portion of the way to a complete suspension refresh too. But the bigger thing here is that you're getting that additional height that you want, plus that really nice high performance, high quality remote reservoir shocks and struts. When you look at it from that perspective, you're getting a ton of good stuff for your money. And as far as complete kits like this one go, it's certainly going to undercut some of the others out there on the market. So if you want to have it all without completely blowing out your budget, this is just what you're looking for. When it comes to the install, this is going to get a 3 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and you should plan on this taking you upwards of 6 hours to complete. Now, everything is designed to bolt right onto your truck. You don't need to make other modifications. However, you are going to be doing quite a bit of disassembly here, so just prepare for that going in. Once you're done too, you will want to take your truck for a professional alignment. Since you're messing with suspension geometry here, things are going to be out of whack. And why go to the trouble of installing all this good performance-oriented stuff if your truck's going to be driving crooked down the road? So with my little PSA out of the way, we're going to walk you through the install process step by step. So with that, let's head on out to the shop and get to it.
For this install, you will need a bungee cord, various impacts, a 10mm Allen socket, a 3/8 to 1/2 inch adapter if necessary, 8, 15, and 18mm sockets, an 18mm swivel socket, 21 and 27mm sockets, and a 7/8 socket, a couple of M10 by 1.5 long bolts with the heads cut off, a paint pen or a marker, an extension, 15, 17, and 18mm ratcheting wrenches, a 21mm wrench, a hammer, and a pry bar. Also not shown here is a couple pole jacks or a jack and jack stands. Also, you will need an alignment once this is done.
What's up guys, today we're going to be installing a lift kit on our F-150, so let's get started.
All right, so we're gonna start off by disconnecting our sway bar link from our knuckle just to get us a little bit more movement. So we're gonna grab our impact and 21mm socket and take this nut off. Now we're gonna get our sway bar link out. If you need to, you can use a little pry bar just to give it a little pivot to free that up. Next, we're gonna disconnect our tie rod. So we're gonna take our same 21mm socket and take off our nut. Now you see that came loose, came out of our knuckle. If you need to, you can grab a hammer if it's stuck and just tap right here. Should break it free. Just gonna let that rest down like so. We're gonna switch to our 18mm socket and take off our 2 nuts on the lower control arm for our strut. Now we're gonna take our 2 bolts out of the back of our control arm. So I'm gonna take a marker and actually just outline our nut here, just so we can put that in the similar place when going back together. This is a slotted hole, so it'll move back and forth. You will need alignment after this, so this just gets us close enough. So we're gonna grab our impact and 21mm socket on the head and a 27mm wrench on the nut and take both the front and the back bolts out. So let's leave that loose for now. We're gonna make sure we mark the rear bolt too. I'm gonna take this one out too. Bolts out. Make sure you have a handle on this because it will swing down. We're just gonna wiggle that off of our strut studs like so. Now that the bottom of our strut is loose, we're gonna take our 15mm ratcheting wrench and take our top 3 nuts off up here. Once you get them loose, you can just spin them off. We're gonna do 2 of them, and then the last one you'll need to support the strut to help get off. So we'll spin that off and then take our strut out completely. Now that you have your factory strut out, you can go ahead and repeat the same thing on the other side.
Alrighty guys, welcome back. Now that we have our factory strut out, we're also going to be replacing our upper control arm for this kit. So what we're going to do is get our lower control arm bolts back in and snug them down, and then we'll be able to secure our knuckle and get our upper control arm out before we install our new strut, because it's going to be in the way of the bolts for the upper control arm. So we'll get our 2 factory bolts back in place, get our lower control arm snug back down, and then move on from there. Alright, so now we'll get our control arm in position. Get our first bolt lined up. And we'll get our front one in as well. We'll reinstall our nuts. Next, we'll grab our 27mm socket and 21mm wrench. Now you're going to need to pull this as close back into place from your markings as possible. Then we'll do the same thing for the back side. Now we can loosen up the nut for our upper control arm ball joint with our 18 mil swivel and extension. And we'll unseat that with a hammer. Now that we have our ball joint unseated, we're going to use a bungee cord to wrap around our knuckle and help support that. A couple wraps. Put that on. Then we can fully remove our nut. Let your knuckle rest down. Now we can remove our two upper control arm bolts. So we've got an 18 mil swivel socket and extension for our bolt head, a 21 millimeter wrench for our nut. Your second one, you just want to be mindful of your wires and your hoses. We'll remove our bolts. And our control arm. All right, so now we're going to remove and replace our factory shocks. So we've got a pull jack underneath our rear differential on the side we're doing. We're going to need a 15 millimeter socket on an impact and an 18 millimeter wrench for the bottom mounting bolts. The top mounting bolts have flag nuts, so you don't need a wrench, just your 15 mil socket. So we'll get those off and get our new shock in place. Now on this side, you will need a wrench. The driver's side does have the flag nut. Also, put a hand on the strut, or the shock rather, to make sure it doesn't swing and hit you. So now that we have our factory control arm out, we can install our new ones reusing our factory mounting bolts. So we'll get this in place, get it lined up, and get our bolts in. Get this in. So we get one bolt in first. And we'll get our second bolt in. We can reinstall our factory nuts. Now we're going to hold our control arm into a slightly upward position and tighten our bolts back down, again using our 18 mil swivel and extension and our 21 mil wrench. Do the same thing for our rear bolt. So now we can begin installing our new strut. Now you'll notice these are mounted at the top with bolts and lock washers. So what we've done is we've got some essentially locator dowels. These are M10 by 1.5 bolts with the heads cut off. This is going to make things a lot easier for your alignment. So we'll get these up in place and get our bottom mounting point in as well, and then we can install our reservoir bracket and our mounting bolts. So we'll get our top lined up. All right, so now we've got our top dowels lined up. We've got a pry bar underneath the bottom of our strut because we're gonna need to kind of force this into position. So we'll pry this in and push it. Now we'll get our lower mounting bolts in. They're our supplied 10 millimeter Allen head bolts. Drop them in from the top. You may have to move this around a little bit. Get these to go. And we've got our first one dropped through, we'll get our second one on. Now we're going to loosely install our provided flange nuts on the bottom of our mounting bolts. Okay. Now we're going to install our provided reservoir bracket. We've still got our locators in, so we're going to slide this up in over top of those, get this in place, then we'll get our first of our mounting bolts in. It's going to be a little bit tight. May even need to take this locator out. Now that we've got that in, we'll install our supplied bolts with lock washers. Then we'll do the same thing for the other two. Now that we have everything loosely in place, we're going to tighten down our lower mounting hardware as well as our upper mounting hardware. We're going to use a 10mm Allen socket and extension on our impact and a 17mm wrench for our lower bolts. And we'll use our 17mm ratcheting wrench to tighten down our upper mounting bolts. Now this is going to be hard to see with our bracket in the way, but you want to grab your 17mm ratchet wrench and tighten down your 3 mounting bolts. Now we're going to mount our reservoir to our bracket. So we're going to wrap our hose around our control arm. You want it to come underneath and out and around. We're going to grab the first of our 2 mounting hose clamps, get it on the far end. You don't have to separate this one. We'll get this one snug down to hold it in place, then we'll install our other hose clamp. Get this on. Hold our clamp in place. We're going to tighten that down with our 8mm socket. You want to make sure it's in the grooves of your bracket. Now we'll get our other clamp on. Again, this one you want to separate. Bring it around. Line it up with the groove in your bracket. And you just hold it like so. And start back up. And you can snug that down. Now these are adjustable damping struts. So your adjuster is right here on your remote reservoir. It is numbered with an arrow. So if you want softer damping, i.e. less damping, just want to turn that down counterclockwise and line it up with whatever number suits your needs. And the same thing for stiffer damping. You want to just go up all the way stiffest or wherever, again, suits your needs for your application. Now we can attach our new upper control arm to our knuckle. Now you may need a pry bar for this. What we'll do is pull down a bit, get this close. Swing our knuckle in position. Ball joint lined up. And we're going to reuse our factory nut. Once that's on, we can remove our bungee cord. Now we're going to reattach our outer tie rod to our knuckle. That's going to help hold this in place so we can tighten down our upper ball joint nut. And we'll get that tight, we'll get our upper ball joint nut tight, and then we'll reattach our sway bar end link. Okay, we'll use our 21 mil socket. And we'll use our 18 millimeter ratchet wrench to tighten back down our ball joint nut. Get our end link back in. Use our 21 mil socket to tighten that down. Now once you've got this side on, you can repeat the same process for the other side, and always remember to torque your hardware down to the manufacturer recommended specifications. Alrighty guys, so now that we have our shock out, we're also going to be replacing our factory blocks with our new lift blocks that give us more height in the rear. So what we're going to need to do is loosen up one side of our U-bolts and completely remove the other. Again, we have pull jacks underneath our differential. We also have one underneath our yoke to help control our pinion angle. So we've already got our other block in, so that side is loose. So we're going to remove this side, drop it down, pull our factory block out and our U-bolts and replace it with our new stuff. So we'll grab our 21 millimeter socket and remove these. You want to support your cradle when you get this last bolt out. Now we're going to remove our factory U-bolts. Now what we can do before we lower this down is install our new U-bolts and put our cradle back in just very loosely. This is just going to keep a cage around our differential just for a little added safety. Get both of these in. Grab our cradle. And we can loosely install our provided flat washers and lock nuts. Get one on the other side. And we'll install our other two. All right, now we can lower this down. Remove our factory block, take that out, keep lowering this, lower this on down. You do want to keep an eye on your pinion angle. You don't want it to go too far one way or the other. It's not the most crucial thing, but it does help. You want to line your dowels up with the factory mounting points. Bring that back up. Okay. Now once you've got this side to this point, you want to do the same thing for the other side, and we'll come back and tighten down our U-bolt nuts. Now for our new nuts, we're going to need a 7/8 socket. I'm going to run these up. Once you have your U-bolts in and your blocks, we can install our new shocks. We'll get this into the upper factory mounting position. You want to make sure your reservoir is facing at a spot where it's not going to be hitting. We'll get our factory bolt in. Now we can loosely reinstall our nut. And we'll get our lower mounting bolt in place. Now, these are obviously a little bit longer, so what we're going to need to do, as these are a little stiff, is grab a pry bar, kind of compress our shock a bit, and then we'll get our bolt in. So now we'll take our pry bar and kind of hook that into our perch. We have our bolt in our hand. We're going to wedge this up on our pry bar,
and compress our shock with it and kind of ride it up the pry bar. Get it into our perch. And we'll get our bolt in place. Now we'll get our lower mounting nut on. And we'll use our 15 mil socket and 18 mil wrench to tighten these back down. The top end first. And our bottom bolt. Then you can do the same thing for the other side. Alrighty folks, that about wraps up our review and install of our Rough Country Off-Road 3-inch suspension lift kit with front Vertex coilovers and rear Vertex shocks for your 21 to current 4-wheel drive F-150 Super Cab Super Crew without CCD system and excluding the Power Boost and Raptor. Thanks for watching, and as always, for everything F-150, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.